What's up, everyone? My name is Edson Cardona, and I want to welcome you guys to the Let's Kick It series. On these episodes, we get the pleasure to be joined by professional athletes, get a little insight on their background and how they made it this far in their athletic careers. A conversation between athletes about their journeys leading them to success. I hope you guys enjoy. What's up, everyone? Hope y'all keeping safe with the COVID-19 pandemic, and my hope is that we're all doing our part and standing in solidarity with the racial justice movement and against police brutality because Black Lives Matter. My name is Edson Cardona, and I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Let's Kick It series. On this episode, I have the honor to introduce Natasha Calkins. Born in Grand Prairie, Canada, played for multiple teams growing up, played for the U18 Dinos Club, where she was third in the Canadian Nationals. In 2014, went to Santa Clara University, where she appeared in the NCAA tournament, both 2014 and 15 season, and was also WCC her freshman year and freshman team. Also went to in 2016 for the Team Canada. In 2016, 2017, transferred to Florida State University, where she was in the Sweet 16 and also appeared in the NCAA tournament her second year. Ended up being a student assistant coach at Florida State in 2018 and graduated as well in December of 2018. Was also part of the Team Canada in 2019 and had her first pro season in Sweden, where she was undefeated until COVID had, canceled the whole season. In 2020 now, she's going to be going to Innsbruck, Austria. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Natasha. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
No problem. I want to thank you again for being part of the Let's Kick It series on this week's episode. And how's quarantine treating you guys over there?
It's been pretty good. We shut down early on in COVID and kind of the first 2 months. And then since then, everything's been opening up a lot more. And I've been trying to get outside a lot just because, some of the gyms aren't really open yet and it's not as safe to be in there. So discovering new hobbies.
No, yeah, that's definitely the right thing to do now. I mean, there's not a lot of things to do outdoors. So definitely got to figure out what you like to do indoors nowadays.
For sure.
But we'll get started. We'll get right to it. So as an athlete, I mean, everyone has their journey, how they begun playing the sport that they're doing now and their passion for it. So when did your journey begin as an athlete?
Well, both my parents, they're really into sports. My dad played college basketball in Canada, and then my mom, actually, she went to the Olympics twice for track and field. And so growing up, we kind of always did all sorts of sports. We were those kids who were in every game I can count. So I always knew that sports was going to be a part of my life, and I always loved just being active and running around and, being a part of a team. I didn't start playing volleyball until I think I was 13, and I did school volleyball and wasn't super good at it, but I was already been taller than most of my classmates, and so everybody was like, oh, you should play, and that kind of started it, and I started to go to camps and get a lot better and kind of have a lot more fun as I improved.
Yeah, you definitely get to see also have your, parents be such big, sports fanatics and be already, in that realm of the athletic, experiences and all that. You get to see what you end up liking. And like you said, at the beginning, it wasn't easy. And so now you get to see all that, growth that you've had throughout the years. So if you can tell me a little bit about how it was to be, playing at such a young age and figuring out that you want to, pursue this into maybe, like you said, like we talked about a little bit, the Canadian teams, and also after when you went to college and into the university.
For sure. I think my journey was probably a little bit different than a lot of other kids because I didn't specialize until, well, pretty much going to university was the first time that I had only done one sport. And so I actually, growing up, I mean, I played volleyball starting when I was 14 and then continued on, but then I was also in competitive swimming, basketball, and I was a little bit all over the place. And I actually was pretty bad at volleyball for a few years going into it. And I rode the bench a lot, but it was a lot of fun with my teammates. And you know, just being tall, everybody kept encouraging me and kept saying that I should stick with it. And so I trusted that and went to a lot of camps, which I think was the most helpful thing because, you know, when you're a young athlete and you get to go to camps and you get to see college players and kind of, you know, get their knowledge and see how good they are and just kind of see yourself in them and where you could go. So I did a lot of that and started to get significantly better at volleyball. And I think after a while, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted to continue. I wanted to play college. And when I was in high school, I kind of started to get recruited a little bit and it was like, oh, this is, you know, this could actually happen for me. And kind of, I had some pretty good teams just along the way. I was really fortunate to where I'd never really played on a bad volleyball team. A lot of my teammates went on to play university and college and have really successful careers themselves. So it was kind of cool to have that inspiration around me and to see where everybody was going. And, you know, I could use that as motivation to push myself and learn from them as well.
Yeah, having those players, you know, right beside you, being able to see how it is to and experience firsthand, you know, all the recruiting that they're having. I mean, like you said, push you to become the best player that you can be and potentially also getting that, you know, scholarship wherever you wanted to go. So if you can talk about your whole process of being recruited and how that was for you, how exciting that was for you to finally, you know, not worry about what college or university you're going to go to. If you can tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because going into my, I guess in Canada we say grade 11, but junior year of high school, I was pretty committed that I was going to stay in Canada, and I had like these two universities that I really wanted to go to, and I didn't want to go anywhere else. And my parents had offered to send me to some camps in the U.S., but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But it kind of worked out to where I actually didn't end up getting recruited by either of the universities that I wanted to go to. And so then that summer, I was kind of like, well, I want to play volleyball and I don't want to go to, like, I had some offers in Canada, but I don't know, it just, nothing felt right. And I didn't really want to go to those programs. So I would kind of took a little bit of a chance, and I did, gosh, it must have been like 5 or 6 volleyball camps, like the elite camps. I went to Pepperdine, I went to USC, I went to Texas, I went to UCLA, and kind of just had a crazy summer and played a lot of volleyball and got to experience the American style of volleyball because I had never been down to the US before or played at all. And I actually got lucky. I went to the camp in Texas, and the coach there, like most of what I'd heard when I'd gone to all these camps was that like, oh, like you're a good player and all, but like our recruiting class is done, so you know there isn't really anything we could do for you. But in Texas, as it turns out, the head coach there was best friends with the Santa Clara volleyball coach, and so I think he'd been his best man at his wedding, and so he took a video of me hitting or something, and I mean it probably was only 15 or 20 seconds, sent it off, and I guess a few days later, the Santa Clara volleyball staff got in contact with me and kind of offered me a scholarship, and that's kind of got me started on that journey. And they came down during the year to watch me play and everything, and so I honestly just got really lucky with going to Santa Clara because if it wasn't for that, I would have just ended up staying in Canada.
It's amazing, right, to see how that played out. I mean, you never know who's watching, and that's kind of, as athletes, you got to always remember, because at the end of the day, you can have that one moment, and like you did, you know, it was lucky, but it was a blessing at the same time because you're able to get that look from somebody who said, hey, you know, this athlete's very good. Let me just send a quick video, and look where you ended up going to Santa Clara University. You're on the WCC, you know, first team, and that's just exciting. As a freshman, you get to see that, you know. And so transitioning into the college, you know, level, is completely different from when you're playing, in high school and all that and all your club sports. So how was that transition for you? Were there many obstacles, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I had a bit of a hard time because a lot of people say too that Canada and the US are similar, but they're culturally different enough to where you definitely notice it. And especially with me, when I came, I was on my own. There really weren't any other Canadians that I knew at Santa Clara, and even in the US. And so I came for the summer semester, and stayed with, Morgan, one of the soccer athletes, which was good. And, she definitely helped me a lot. And just in terms of getting comfortable and having someone there to talk to, because most of the girls on my team actually weren't there for the summer. Um, and so it was a little bit of an adjustment period. And then definitely going into volleyball, it was so different. I think the US is just so much faster, and, everything, like just the way that the team is structured, and there's a lot of emphasis too on, like a lot of respect goes to the older players because they've been there, and learning from them, and just kind of like falling in line with, you're a freshman and you kind of got to take a step back and calm down a little bit. But it was pretty difficult, I definitely say. So I had again, weird situation where I didn't actually end up playing the position that I was recruited for, because I think they had another girl in my position didn't end up coming that year. And so the coaches asked me if I'd be okay playing this other position, which I'd never played. And they trained me pretty much from scratch. And I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's just so different. And a lot of the things that you need to know were just, they're very different from a position I played. So I was on an outside hitter, which is, big hitter on the outside. You're blocking a little bit, but I switched to playing middle. And so with that, it's a lot of like, you have to be focused on everything that's going on. You can't just know what's, happening on your side. You need to be very court aware. And I'm pretty jumpy as a person too. And so it was a lot of panic for, my entire freshman year pretty much. And I said the coaches were great. And so, they coached me to a level where I was actually able to get on the court a lot and kind of share a starting position, which was pretty awesome. But I will say it was definitely pretty stressful initially.
Yeah, I mean, as an athlete, you have to definitely learn how to adapt to new situations. And like you did, being able to be versatile as an athlete is key, because it can, at one point, if you say, I can't do it, then mentally you won't be able to succeed. So for you, I think that was the best thing to hear, because being able to start from scratch in a new position where you're not used to is not easy at all. And so I give you credit for that as well, because being a versatile player is an advantage, and that's was something that you were able to do and overcome as well, because athletes tend to, when they don't get playing time or they're put into different positions, they either give up or their mental side just is not strong enough. And that's kind of what's very important for athletes, to be able to have that mental side, because it does come hand in hand with, your playing. And if you're happy, you play well. If you're not, then, sometimes it doesn't go too well. So what kept you motivated? We talk about this a lot. And so you being able to be now playing a new position, getting that starting spot, sharing that, what kept you motivated throughout these years? And then also now, once you were at Santa Clara, you ended up transferring. And so how was that whole transition for you to keep motivated and be like, I still want to do this, I still want to play, and give out, 110% each day?
hmm I think it was definitely hard because you always have to remind yourself of why you're there. And for me, I'd always just, because my mom had been on the Canadian national team and my brother as well. And so we're pretty competitive. And so I always kind of had that bigger goal of, wanting to be able to play for my country and be a part of that. And I think in times where it was really difficult, I kept coming back to that, because you have moments, especially, all through college, where you sit there and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? This is so hard. I could just be at school, a regular student. I could be sleeping right now, and you have, the 6 a.m. lifts. And it definitely helped just, remembering that I wanted to keep playing and I wanted to go on. And I did want to do well in college as well. But the bigger picture for me was being able to play pro and going international. And then when I transferred, I don't think the motivation there wasn't so hard because, I mean, I kind of had, again, a bit of a lucky break to where um, that summer that I left, Team Canada, they had just, they didn't make the Olympic qualifier. So that was the qualifying year. And so a lot of girls had retired. And so when I went to try out that summer, it was there wasn't many people there. And so it just kind of, you know, felt like all the pieces came together, and I was able to actually train with them that summer and be a part of that, which, you know, it's kind of like being a freshman again, because you're scared and you're like, oh, all these girls are, you know, terrifying, and they played in international games and they have just a total different standard, you know, that they try to hold themselves to and their teammates to. And definitely, you know, you got to learn to not take things personally when someone's yelling at you, because, you know, they're trying to make the program better and they're trying to make you better. And then so going to FSU, it was still that kind of, you know, where I really wanted to be a part of the national team. And I kind of, I don't know, I just kept trying to remind myself of like why I was playing. But we had a few really great years at Florida State, and we did really well. So keeping motivation really wasn't that difficult. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely see when there's success. I mean, it's the best feeling, you know, and that's what athletes thrive for. They want to keep having that feeling where, you know, we succeed, we keep making it to the NCAA tournament, you know, you go to the next round. That's exciting. And like you said, being able to go to the team now for the Canadian team, it was a different experience. But like you said, it's like transitioning and adapting again as a freshman, as a rookie, to know, okay, things, you know, are different, but kind of the same thing. Yeah, I got to come in and out, perform. And like you said, not take everything so personal, because at the end of the day, you're there to help the team out, you know? And so at what point did you know that you can turn now this career into a pro level? You know, if you can tell me a little bit about that experience on how it was for you to get, you know, your first signing and how it was to sign. You know, I mean, it's very exciting. That's what all athletes, you know, wish for and dream for. And so if you can tell me about that day that you signed and that whole experience for you.
Yeah, so I mean, with volleyball, and especially having been a part of the national team, there are, I mean, everybody who does national team plays pro. And so I definitely had a lot of help and a lot of insight from the players around me, because I found that I don't think a lot of girls who play NCAA and like go on to play pro, a lot of people who definitely could have pro careers don't necessarily do it. And so most of the information actually came from my national team teammates. And I had a bit of a weird journey for pro as well, because I had actually had to get Tommy John surgery when I was at Florida State. And so I had about a year and a half or year or so where I hadn't been competing at all in volleyball. And then I guess that was when I was student assistant coach for Florida State as well. And so I was able to get and practice and play with the girls and kind of also be a bit of a manager. But I mean, practice is not the same as game experience. And so when I graduated, I started coaching a little bit and, you know, playing with club players, playing with the universities up here, and got a lot of help from the coaches. And I was looking for a contract, but I couldn't find anything. And then that summer, I went and tried out for Team Canada again and ended up making the next gen team, so the B team, and playing a lot more there, getting a lot higher level experience. And I finished the summer still not having a contract, still not having an agent. And so I decided to go back to Florida State and join preseason. And my coach there actually helped me find my agent. And from there, I had a couple offers that I wasn't too sure about, but the one from Sweden came, and I honestly left from Florida. I got the offer, and about a week later, I took off. So it all happened pretty quickly. It was a little bit surreal. I can't remember exactly when I signed, but it was kind of crazy. Just, you know, like 1 minute you have nothing, and then the next minute you're off flying to a different country.
As an athlete, I mean, that's what we dream for, right? And you seeing and be able to have all that success that you did have throughout the years, you know, grinding every day, you know, especially going through an injury. I mean, that's very tough, and it does hit a big part in your mental side. So how was that, you know, for you, that experience, if you can talk a little bit about injury and how you kind of transitioned on not being able to play, and what kept you still, on the, having that fire to keep on going even after, because having a big injury like that is not, the best thing for an athlete's mental side. A lot of players who do go through injuries, they tend to either not be the same player that they were prior to it, or they just give up on their dreams. So if you can talk a little bit about prior to getting that contract, how was that experience for you to be injured? I mean, I don't know if you've been injured uh, crucially prior to that, but how was that experience for you to still keep that fire going on now after that, being able to pursue your pro career and, like you said, be able to sign that contract and go straight to Sweden?
Yeah, well, I that was definitely the biggest injury that I had, and it was kind of unfortunate to where I actually hurt my elbow for the first time before the season at Florida State had even started, and so it wasn't a full tear, so I could still play, and so I pretty much played injured the 2 years that I was there. And then by the end of it, it was pretty bad. I would wake up in the morning and my elbow would be at 90 degrees, and throughout the day you're slowly like bending it onwards, and you're taking, anti-inflammatories and just trying to get it to work so where you can practice and play. And so I think that was pretty hard because it's like you're in so much pain and you want to play. And then I don't know if you experience this, but a lot of times, like, it's really hard to be taken seriously with your injury until you have, like, until you're getting operated on, or because it was something to where I could still play with it because, a lot of people play with partial tears, and it's not the end of the world because, when the full tear happens and you kind of have to stop. But it was just so ridiculously painful. And it was pretty hard, I'll say, just, I had a lot of low moments where I was like, why am I doing this to myself? This is the worst thing in the world. But like I said, coming back to that, why am I playing and wanting to play for my country? And so pretty much grinded through my last year. And after that season, ended up going and getting the surgery because, I don't think I would have been able to continue playing without it. It had gotten pretty bad. And so I had the surgery, and definitely a lot of low moments, especially because, like, when you're injured, like, just regularly, you can still kind of do stuff. But when I had the surgery, I mean, I couldn't even do my hair. I couldn't lift my arm up. And so just everyday life things became very difficult. And with that, I mean, obviously I couldn't really train. But I had, like, the Florida State training room, like, they're amazing. And a lot of the staff there really helped me get through, because I don't think I could have done it just on my own, going to like a regular physio where I live. Like, our trainer, Julia, every single day would, help me and, kind of help me with that motivation. And I worked with one of the physiotherapists. His name was Jerry. And it was amazing because I would come in and my elbow had improved like 1 millimeter, and he would get so excited. And I think it really just helped having that, that group around me that was so committed to getting me better, and sometimes even more committed than I was. And, they really helped me push through and see the bright side when everything was looking a little bit bleak. And then once I actually started playing again, so I think I got the surgery in January, and then wasn't able to play until August. I started playing with the team again, and it just felt so much better that I was kind of on like a little bit of a high where I was like, this is, like, let's go. I'm ready. I'm getting back at it. And so I was just so excited once I had started again that, once I started playing again, it was kind of just smooth sailing from there.
Having, like you said, that support system, everyone in the training room definitely helps you out. And, as an athlete, injuries are terrible. They are just something that no one wants to go through, unfortunately. And like you said, you did have a lot of low moments, but what people don't see is that when you do have those low moments, that's where you thrive. That's where you pick yourself up, and say, hey, I'm going to keep doing this. And like you said, that motivation to make the Canadian team and ended up going to Sweden, signing your first pro contract was the dream come true. And so I give you props for that, because being injured, I know, is not easy, and having, all those moments where you probably was thinking like, "Ah, I should probably give up," but now that you had that support and having everybody pretty much tell you, hey, you can do it, hey, just wait, you got to stay patient and stay mentally strong, because when you do come back, then that's where you're going to be able to give even 150%. And you even said it yourself, you felt even better, which is even the best feeling to have once you get back from an injury. And so we spoke a little bit about also your next move and what's coming up for you. So if you can speak a little bit now that you're going to have your second pro season, you're going to go to Austria. So how did that come about? And if you can tell me about that.
Yeah, so again, back on the injury train, I didn't actually make it through my first pro season in Sweden. I had hurt my ankle. So, did all the rehab, all the recovery, and so kind of got back into playing. But because of that, I really wasn't able to get a contract right away, because there's a lot of question marks, and especially with Corona, there's a lot of clubs that folded and aren't competing this year. So a lot of people are taking, a lot lower contracts than necessarily like they would be worth as a player. And so I actually said yes to 2 contracts before this, and both of them fell through. So it's been a lot of up and down, trying to figure out what I was going to do this year. But I had actually made a plan. So our national team decided to do the training center in Vancouver, which is where we train. And so I had been fully committed to going there. I'd made a plan. I knew who I was going to live with. And because up until that point, I hadn't heard anything else from my agent. And so I was like, hey, well, I got to play somehow. And then he called me up one day, and I guess this was all last week, actually. And he's like, oh, I've got this team in Austria. And so I talked to the coach, and I really liked what he had to say. And literally the next day I ended up signing, and all of this happened. And so, especially in pro, a lot of times it's like, there's a lot of uncertainty, and you have nothing for a while, and then everything happens really fast. And yeah, I'm leaving next week to start training with the team, which will be pretty exciting.
Congratulations. I mean, once again, you're able to play, professional level. And like you said, you signed 2 contracts prior to this, and they fell through, and you're still up in the air. But now, you can finally breathe, take all that pressure off your shoulders. And congratulations. I can't wait to see, what happens in the future with you in Austria. And so after talking about all your success and everything you've gone through, all the injuries that you've, pushed through, all that success, who can you really credit all that to?
I don't think there's anyone specifically. I think what happened with me is a lot of people took a chance on me. As a player, a lot of coaches put extra time in. And I remember there was coaches who, would give me a lot more court time for, they would pretty much where we were covering the cost of court time, and they would just, give me their time to help me develop and help me play. And this happened at every stage I was at from when I was young. There's so many coaches, like I wish I could go through and credit all of them, but we'd be here for a while. And so because of that, like I just had, so many people who they really supported me and kept me going. And then even when I was going back, I was able to, I reached out to some coaches when I was living in a different city. And even that way they said, oh yeah, like come join us, come join our gym. And so even with that, like, it's still just that constant support where you've got people who, you reach out, you kind of take a chance, and they're, all on board and really excited to help you. And that's been the really cool thing just about the volleyball community that I've been around, is there just been so many selfless people who've really given me a lot of their time and a lot of their support. And that's really what's kept me going, because, without a place to train, without a team, there's only so much you can do on your own with volleyball. And so I was just so lucky to every stage just have somewhere to go.
It's definitely a blessing to have, that support system like you talked about in the volleyball community, and also have those people who believe in you. I mean, that's what an athlete needs at the end of the day, have that one person, be able to be like, hey, this athlete is good. I'm going to be able to put, like they say, all my chips in on either him or her so that they can succeed. And like we talked about earlier, when you're going to go to Santa Clara, you're able to get that 10 to 15-second clip, and boom, it was like a dream come true to end up going to Santa Clara University and, being able to play there. And so, our final question, that advice that you can give to your younger self about the journey you've taken, what would it be?
I think advice I give to my younger self is just to appreciate those around me more, and like keep trying to or like I had a lot of confidence issues, I'll say, when I was younger. And so even though, like I said, with all the people supporting me, but a lot of my growth forward wasn't necessarily driven by me. It was driven by those around me and those who were coaching me. And so I think to just tell my younger self that, like, you are worth all this effort, and, like, you don't have to feel bad about people helping you because they want to help you, and, to kind of give yourself a little bit of props sometimes, and to drive yourself up instead of just only relying on the people around you.
Yeah, being able to have that confidence within yourself. I mean, there's a certain point of being cocky and being confident, and but still at a young age, you still have to have that confidence to know, like, I can do this. And like you spoke about it, being able to have the people that support you is like, they're doing it for a reason, because you have very good skills. So it's definitely, as a young kid, I can say too as well that all the younger generation should be able to have that confidence in themselves, to be able to know, like, if I put all my motivation, all my discipline, whatever I do, I'll move forward. And so I want to thank you so much for being part of this week's episode on the hashtag Let's Kick It series. I can't wait for what's next for you in Austria and to see how you kill it over there.
Thanks so much. No, this was awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Once again, thank you to Natasha for being part of this week's episode on the hashtag Let's Kick It series. Thank you for everyone who joined in this week, and be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have another professional athlete join us and tell us on their journeys on becoming a professional athlete.